MIXLY, the power of diversity.
So, one term I've been seeing a lot in the news this summer is white privilege. I've seen it in everything from discussions of stop and frisk to commentary on Miley Cyrus's VMA performance. And as trivial as some of those topics may sound to you, I think that the conversation about this idea, white privilege, is a really important one. Which is why I think it's kind of too bad that, at least as far as I can tell, it's a term that's being used a lot more than it's being defined. So, I thought, well, I have this vlog, which I am committed to putting out at least once a week. Maybe I'll try and use one of the videos to define white privilege. Now, last week I argued that race is kind of like a high school clique. This week I'm back with another analogy. White privilege is kind of like flying first class. Now, unfortunately, I only have first-hand experience with one of those two things, and it's definitely the more problematic one. I'm pretty sure that as someone who is half white, I have at some point benefited from white privilege. Unfortunately, I have never benefited from flying first class. However, I do have plenty of experience flying coach. And much like white privilege, I suspect it's easier in some ways to spot the benefits of flying first class from the outside. And what are the benefits? Well, a lot of things are just a little bit easier when you're flying first class, right? It starts in the terminal. You get to board the plane first. And when you do, you get to sit at the front. And not only are you sitting at the front, but your seats are way better. They are wider. You have more leg room. I have heard rumors, although I am not sure if these are true, that you get some sort of complimentary alcoholic beverage. I have heard rumors, again, unconfirmed and unsubstantiated, but rumors that the food is much better. I've been on planes where first class got its own coat rack. I've even been on planes where first class got their own bathrooms. Anyway, the point is that when you fly first class, a lot of things are just automatically easier than when you're flying coach. And white privilege is kind of the same thing. When you're white, there are a lot of things that are just automatically easier than if you weren't white. Now, obviously the analogy does break down at some point. One of the biggest differences is that a lot of the things that are easier about being white, at least in 2013, are less tangible than the things that are easier when you're flying first class. For example, you're not going to get any complimentary beverages just because you're white. But you are a lot less likely to get pulled over. You're not going to get any more legroom for being white, but studies have shown that you are a lot more likely to get that next round job interview you've been hoping for. And at least in 2013, you're not going to get your own bathroom, but you're even more likely to get your calls returned. Unfortunately, the fact that the benefits of white privilege do seem to be less tangible than the benefits of flying first class lead to another big difference. When you're flying first class, you've got better than the people in coach, and the reason why you've got better is because you're in first class. I think a lot of people who benefit from white privilege don't recognize what they're benefiting from. They attribute it to other things that I might describe as pseudo-racist, like intelligence, work ethic, culture, which is really a shame, because one of the things that those of us who do benefit from white privilege can do about it, and albeit a very, very small thing, but still something, is to recognize it. To call it out, to say that it exists, and to recognize the difference it's made in our own lives. That's why I want to give some props right now to Macklemore. Not only because I love that song, but also because in a recent interview with Rolling Stone, he acknowledged what I think a lot of people in his position wouldn't have been willing to. That his career's benefited because he's white. I think a lot of us would do well to follow his example. And when I say a lot of us, I don't just mean a lot of us white people, because there's all kinds of privilege. We got our male privilege, we got our hetero privilege, which the list goes on and on and on and on. At the end of the day, most of us probably benefit from one kind of privilege or another. So let's not be afraid to acknowledge that.
MIXLY.